As I said previously, I am not a licensed psychologist, psychiatrist, nor hold any other earthly certification to mentor another into a healthy lifestyle. I simply hold the wisdom of first-hand experience of how to emerge from surviving a hellish existence into living a thriving life within my own unique heaven on earth. I am like the wounded healer who has experienced the kind of debilitating loss that would cause anyone to stagnate in fear of encountering more of the same. In my first book, The Awakening, Book 1, Ascension, A Trilogy of Transformation, I shared my personal plight of self-destructive abusive behavior due to the illusion of separation, which you will learn more about in the next part, entitled The Problem, the Cause, the Illusion of Separation, and its culprits who steal away the life you desire. Anyway, in the first book, I shared how I lost my childhood from sexual abuse starting at the tender age of 6 months and continuing into my preteens, which then led to participating in abusive relationships as a teenager and a young adult. And I openly confessed having been addicted to life-consuming drugs and eating disorders. Shortly after Book 1 was published, and after many long years of assisting countless others with their awakening, my own life was thriving. I was in a loving, supportive relationship and living in the home of my dreams in the beautiful Sangre de Cristo Mountains. I believed I was free of the illusion of separation and well on my way to maintaining my mindful, magnificent me. In July of 2004, my 32-year-old son, Justin, was killed in a hit-and-run accident. This devastating experience caused me to revisit all the incorrect beliefs, and they eventually took hold. Throughout my life, I had heard there is no greater pain than to lose a child. Presently, I know that is not true, as no one's pain is greater than someone else's. Yet, at the time, I believed it to be so. Despite the many years I had worked in service of the light, assisting others in creating the life of their dreams, I found myself once again consumed by the erroneous beliefs of being rejected, forsaken, and abandoned. I could never wrap my head around the loss of my only child, especially after I'd worked so hard to help so many other children. I allowed this totally unexpected event to throw me back into the meaningless mess state of consciousness where I adamantly insisted on being a victim. I consciously found myself engaged in extremely destructive thoughts. Despite all the previous processes of letting go of the erroneous beliefs that had stolen my young life and knowing the danger, I flipped back and forth between blaming myself for not being able to save my child and hating God for taking him. There were moments I made a conscious attempt to be happy so I could continue the work that was joyous for me. Yet my unbearable pain controlled everything as it traversed between waves of uncontrollable grief to fits of raging revenge. I lost trust in myself, not understanding how someone like me, so developed in psychic abilities, could have known nothing of my child's impending death. It mattered not what I thought or tried. All of it resulted in an unshakable fear, and I did not feel confident to continue working with others, nor do the inner work that was so necessary to free myself of the victim state of consciousness. My life continued to spiral downward and rapidly became a meaningless mess in every aspect of my existence. In the years to follow, I lost my business and eventually lost my home spiritual center, which I dedicated over 20 years of my life and invested all my money in. But I didn't stop there. I became apathetic as my mind wandered through the depths of hell on earth where the paralyzing fear of victimization reigned, and eventually my body reacted to my indifference and many different physical illnesses and pains manifested, threatening to devour what little was left of me. I had turned the blame towards me, and I believed I needed to be punished for not being able to save my son. I had no desire to continue. This unconsciously became my passionate purpose. I lost faith in myself and my divine abilities, the very things I needed to see me through. I convinced myself daily of having nothing to offer anyone, crippled with thoughts of being completely and totally worthless. Yet within the darkened illusion, where the incorrect thoughts of the meaningless mess consciousness had almost totally consumed my mind, heart, body, and spirit, the mindful magnificence of me continued to speak quietly in the recesses of my heart, inspiring and encouraging me to get up and get out of my rut by acknowledging I was more than what I had convinced myself of. With this inspiration, I found myself silently calling out for help, because I knew, even though I tried to blame anyone and everyone else, I was doing nothing more than destroying myself. Help arrived in many ways, shapes, and forms to guide me with loving light and encouraging words to never give up. At first, I fought, attempting to defend my denial of the truth. Yet the assistance appeared daily with the relentless truth of my magnificence. I found myself simply too tired to maintain my defenses. After engaging in the erroneous perception of loss and lack for many years, I eventually was willing to acknowledge I had simply fallen backward into an unconscious state of existence and nothing was working in my favor. I knew I had to choose to put my focus where it would result in positive change. I had to consciously get back on the path of the unfoldment and alignment of my authentic self. I knew I had to get present with my pain, continue to attempt to escape it with additional crisis and drama-based distractions. I had to be willing to see the higher understanding regarding the illusion of separation that had played out through the loss of my son, so I could release its stagnating and limiting effect on my life. But I still wasn't quite done with inflicting pain upon myself. After almost 5 years of circling the United States, I found myself back in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains with no job, very little money, and multiple physical ailments. My brother gifted me a temporary home where I was only responsible for taking care of the expense of the utilities. At first, I hated being there because it reminded me of nothing more than my many perceived failures. The home had been devastated by a flood from a frozen pipe a few years earlier, and although most of the cosmetics had been restored, it was still in great disarray with most of the original household items saved from the watery destruction, along with numerous tools and repair equipment, were aimlessly scattered or tossed aside in boxes and plastic storage containers. Everything was covered in construction dust and very unwelcoming to someone like me who always demanded order in her life. I spent 2 months cleaning and arranging, trying my best to make a comfortable space for me to continue my miserable attitude. Each morning upon awakening, I would stand on the deck overlooking the majestic Sangre de Cristo mountain range that had once been so dear to my heart, complaining of the weather, my pain, or any other negative aspect I could zoom in on with my critical focus. Then, one morning I woke up and made that conscious choice to change my thoughts and feel gratitude for myself and my environment. I found myself laughing silently as I realized the house I was in was nothing more than a reflection of what I had chosen to make of my own life. I knew that I had almost destroyed myself by drowning myself in my sorrow of my false perception of loss. I was already unconsciously engaged in cleaning up the mess my sorrowful flood had created. Now it was time to be present with me, so I could consciously and joyfully return to my authentic self, the one who now exists and experiences overwhelming joy while working with individuals to help them acknowledge, accept, and activate their own divinity. Anyway, that morning I stood on the deck expressing gratitude for the gifts I had been given. The gift of life, the gift of a home, the gift of a loving, supportive man, and the gift of beautiful, peaceful surroundings where I could reconnect and align with my mindful magnificence, as well as activate my soul star and claim and unleash my real passionate purpose, the one I had tossed aside 13 years earlier when my son passed from his physical body. I started taking one tiny step after another, beginning with participating in breathing exercises in my own creation of the video entitled Change Your Life in 15 Minutes, and the exercises in the videos I had created years earlier of the first 3 steps of the Life Mastery series. The memory of my true worth began to seep in, accompanied by inspiring thoughts that there was still a life I not only wanted to live, but was meant to experience. I finally found the strength and courage to begin again, and rededicate myself to the service of helping others, realize just how profoundly magnificent they are. The completion of this book being one of the first results of that devotion. I know I am not unique in my pain, as many of you have similar experiences, and my pain was no worse than any of yours. Yet regardless of what any of us create from the unconscious state of the meaningless mess, each of us can choose to get up and move on into realizing all we really are and create all we truly desire. Independently or collectively, we can all move away from a world of fear into a world of love, a superconscious ascended state of being that is realized through our mindful, magnificent me, who will indeed manifest heaven on earth. Through all my self-inflicted persecution of darkness, including all mental, emotional, and physical pain, I came to know beyond a shadow of a doubt, each of us is made of pure, compassionate love, and each of us is to acknowledge that truth within ourselves and then extend it out to all others. This higher truth is now swirling and consuming all of us, so we may consciously understand we no longer need to settle for an ordinary life, only surviving until such day comes, causing us to pass by accident or illness. I am not unique, but I am a good example of how to emerge out of the darkness into the light. Just like me, you too can raise your frequency into the mindful, magnificent me by shifting your thoughts and attitude, by attending to awakening, acknowledging, and accepting the truth of you, coupled with releasing the false beliefs, which will restore your authenticity and allow you to align with and activate your soul star and unleash your passionate purpose. This is what it takes to be free to be. It is necessary to release the multiple layers of fake identities and unhealthy patterns imprinted upon you from your blood family and society. Only then can you truly know the depths of your true heart and soul. The guiding steps that follow are equivalent to jump-starting the battery of your life that has been lying dormant from lack of use, but also holds the empowerment of the freedom to follow its unlimited imagination. It knows not only how to dream, but to pursue those dreams unencumbered by any obstacle presented along the way. The mindful, magnificent me is liberated from the personal baggage that previously held you back from fully trusting in self and joyfully participating in the adventure of life. You will feel like you have finally been born into the magical world of which you always belonged and had simply forgotten. So now that I have introduced myself and shared with you both joyful and painful things about my life and how I came to be in the place of where I am now, you can now move on to part 3, the problem, and how you got stuck in the meaningless mess state of consciousness in any aspect of your life. In this part, I will be using the transforming frequencies in color, form, sound, and other images to help you begin to shift out of as I share the understanding and define the illusion of separation, the cause of why you do not have the life of your dreams. And I will also talk about its companion culprits, who continuously keep you a prisoner in a cycle of life that simply does not work in your favor.